I'm honored to be speaking now with Susan Nakyung Lee, who is part of the core delivery team of the Global Assembly COP26. Susan, welcome to Climate Action Live. Thank you for being with us.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here.
Susan, tell me about what you do as a team member of this group.
Yes, of course. Thank you for asking. So like you so well summarized for us, at the Global Assembly, our mission, our guiding mission really is to give everyone a seat at the global governance table. So our project grew out from this recognition that there's a missing piece in global decision making, and that missing piece is us, right? A piece that authentically centers and surfaces civic intelligence and everyday citizens. So is this realization coupled with the belief that we need the whole array of experience and wisdom and knowledge, not just the technocrats or traditional power holders that exist today on Earth to solve our shared global crises that really form the bedrock of this project. So like you said, for this year in 2021, we will be holding the first ever Global Citizens Assembly on climate change. And put simply, what this means is that we will be bringing together 100 participants from all over the world who form a descriptive sample of the global population in terms of age, gender, education, and region, selected by lot or civic lottery rather than election. So this is actually similar to what many countries use to choose their juries. And so our participants will meet over multiple weeks to go on a thorough learning journey about the reality of climate change and deliberate on how we might move forward in a fair and effective way. They're going to be presenting their recommendations at COP26, the UN Climate Change Conference this November. We also know, though, from previous experience that citizens' assemblies do come up with ambitious policies, but often too few people are either aware of the assemblies or experience the benefits that institutions and decision makers are really compelled to listen. So additionally, we're also going to have distributed events. And we are currently developing an open access toolkit that allows anyone anywhere around the world to bring the core assembly to their libraries, their community centers, cafes, schools, impact hubs, and more. And finally, in addition to distributed events, we're also launching a cultural wave. We don't want the Global Assembly to reach people globally through traditional media centers or academia. We want it to reach people through their favorite hip-hop artists, their favorite K-pop group, or any sort of favorite videographer. And so we want to invite artists from all over the world to respond to the idea of the Global Assembly. So in a snapshot, that's what we're planning for 2021. But I want to stress that our long-term vision is that the Global Assembly will come to fill that missing puzzle piece that I was speaking about and become a permanent global infrastructure as opposed to just one event that claims the space for citizens and civic intelligence of the global governance scheme.
Susan, my word, that's a lot of stuff. I'm glad you're doing it, but wow, what a laundry list. It's very clear from what you've just said and what you described that there is an urgency and therefore you want to do a lot. But describe for us, if you can, Susan, those who are in the space and those who are outside the space of understanding the issue of climate. How urgent is climate change?
Yeah, so I actually just turned 20, like in the beginning of this year. So
No.
I haven't even had, literally in the beginning of this year, even though I look like 15 years old. But I haven't even had my like Gen Z quarter life crisis yet. But I think that when it does happen, surely it's going to be about whether, my like geriatric years are going to be livable. And I grew up in Seoul, so in this past year, people have become intimate around the world with sort of the reality of face masks. But when I was growing up, it was just like a school supply for me when microparticle pollutions were bad. So, there are days when I stay up at night thinking like, are my kids literally not going to know what recess is? A couple of years ago, my brother sent me this article and it was really a reality check moment for me because kids in Korea had been asked to draw a picture of the sky. And what they drew were yellow skies because it was literally all they knew. So quite literally, the days of sky blue are dwindling quickly on us. And this small example from my corner of the world pales in comparison to what other kids are going through every single day. So from the perspective of a young person, sheer livability is not what I want to be worrying about for my retirement plans. But I think what's always been equally, if not more frightening than the actual symptoms of climate change for me are sort of the inability and helplessness of our existing decision-making structures to turn the tide, and our insistence to hold on to these. And so right now, it really feels to me like we're at an inflection point where, the past few years have been really hard for democracy and democratic processes. And if we don't find participatory and more democratic responses soon, then more authoritarian responses are going to be found. So I think at a point when progress around climate change is starkly revealing these democratic fatigues and deficits, it's really critical that we come up with these solutions quickly.
So Susan, we got 3 minutes, but I have to ask you this. Although I am a multiple of your age, I do think we have a shared idea or concern. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, we were worried about missiles coming in and landing in California. You growing up in Seoul, you were worried about missiles coming in from the north. Compare that when you think of today's model, no climate action, no peace. When you think of those missiles coming in, you were talking about looking up in the sky, compare that worry versus your worry about climate change.
Yeah, so I mean, quite frankly, the message of this event today, no climate action, no peace, it's been living in my head rent-free for the past couple of days. And I think the way that I've responded to it most is coming from our climate action that we at the Global Assembly are pursuing, which is, providing a vessel to hold and activate everyday people's opinions on climate change. And I think, climate assemblies, citizens assemblies have been known to generate more ambitious policies than politicians. But at the same time, involving citizens at the global governance table isn't just a piece of technocracy, right, or a tool that we can plug in and expect miracles from.
Right.
It requires a massive cultural reset, both within the assembly as participants from all walks of life and opinions about climate put their differences aside and come up with common grounds, but also for the world and institutions to hear and legitimately trust these outcomes. And so this kind of cultural reset is going to be about formulating completely new forms of trust, expanding the picture that comes to mind when you imagine what a decision maker looks like, and forming, smarter and more empathetic ways. And so I think, to shamelessly borrow from my university's literary magazine title, Ecologies of Care, what we're doing for climate action at the Global Assembly is creating ecologies of care amongst people to then solve our own planet's ecology. Right. And so I think this really speaks to the heart of this event, which is no climate action, no peace, because the contingency, between climate action and peace is that we pursue climate action in participatory ways that, improves people's agency in addition to their better qualities of life.
Susan, so tell me of the Global Assembly in 30 seconds. Who are these folks? They all are like you, or the different parts of the country, world? Are they all from Seoul? Give me a quick 30 seconds. Well, are they like the people I see down at the McDonald's? Who are these folks?
Yeah, so we're actually based completely all over the globe. And, we've been working on this project on Zoom for the past 2 years. We have people based in Europe. We have a huge organization based in Africa. I'm currently based in Seoul. And we're currently decentralizing our team further to bring the rest of the world with us. And we'll be calling out for volunteers very, very soon. And we want our team to reflect our international
spirit. Right, you heard it. They're calling for volunteers very soon. Finally, Susan Nakyung Lee, one word to describe why you do this.
I think groundbreaking. Absolutely.
Groundbreaking. Susan, I hope you have a good day. Thank you for being with us and spending your time.